Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 43rd Stately Office Hours. This is where we share with you a huge number of demos. We've got so many demos today. You're going to absolutely love it. We talk to you about what us, the Stately team, have been up to working on the Stately tools and with XState. And if you have any questions, we would love to answer them. We can answer them live if you chat to us on YouTube, where we're streaming live, on Twitter, where we're streaming live, on LinkedIn, where we're streaming live. And we are not streaming live, but you can access the Office Hours channel in our Discord at discord.gg/xstate. And then we've got a dedicated channel for the Office Hours. So let's start off by introducing ourselves, same as we do every single week. I'm Laura, and I do advocacy and some other things at Stately. Going in left to right order, David, who are you?
Hi, I'm David, creator of XState, founder of Stately. I usually get the order of those two mixed up. Anyway, that's me, and the observer of really awesome demos by our team.
And you kind of are both. You could mix it up and it still makes sense.
Yeah.
Founder of XState and the creator of Stately.
Yes.
Fazad.
Hey, I'm Farzad, the Wozniak of Stately, and I'm just an engineer.
No, just about it. Next up, Matthias.
Hi, I'm Mateusz, and I'm just a man on the brick wall. Apart from that, I'm a software engineer at Stately, working on open source stuff.
Great. And Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick, and I work on product design here at Stately.
And last but not least, Anders.
I'm Anders. I'm engineering here at Stately, and new this week, together with Laura, I'm also part of a new privacy wrestling team where we try to guard all our users' privacy rights.
Yeah, we're the tag team of the privacy scene. Just imagine us coming up to people that are trying to invade the user's privacy and hitting them with chairs. That's what we do. What we've been working on, we've got loads to share with you this week. So let's just get straight into the demo goodness. So Anders, let's start with you with what we've been working on with VS Code this week.
Yes. So first up is snippets. We mentioned this a while back, being a call for feedback. And what we've settled on for now is just one single snippet called XSM. Think XStateMachine in your head. And part of our mission is to kind of get you going as quickly as possible. And this is the fastest way to get you going with the machine and a visual editor that we've come up with so far. So if you have the newest version of the extension, you already have this. You just type XSM. And for me, I use tab for completing snippets. So if I hit tab, it'll fill out this template. It'll put the cursor to the name of the machine. I can call this demo machine.
Could you increase your zoom level slightly, Anders, just so we can see on the smaller screens?
Something like that.
Fabulous, thank you.
So with just a few tabs, I have a full machine running, and now I have the Open Visual Editor. So with a few clicks, I'm up and running, and now I can start using the right editor over here instead. Say hello weekend. And it's, now you're going. And the cool thing about the snippet is if you're in a TypeScript file, it'll create a machine for you that's already using typegen. And if you're in a normal JavaScript file, it'll just create a regular create machine for you. If you're in Vue, we can't really distinguish between the languages, so we'll just provide you with both options in that case. Another thing that we've been working on is trying to be more helpful for the users, such as myself, that's maybe not using VS Code all the time. So we've updated the plugin a bit. So here I'm opening the same file inside WebStorm. And what happened before, if I tried to edit this and save the file, nothing would happen in the visual editor because we're relying on VS Code to detect the changes. And we've had to work slightly around their API to get this working, but hopefully it is working now. So let's say hello Friday instead. And once I save it, you can see that VS Code gets updated in the background. So this was a request on our Discord. So please join there and give us your good ideas like this one. We're very happy to kind of do the ones we can manage.
Yeah, we love having those on Discord. I was also just going to say it's a good point to say you can also request features that you want, and also if there are any editors that you use that you want us to support. If you go to statelyai.canny.io, we have a board there where you can give us feedback, make feature requests, and also see our roadmap for what we've got planned.
Good point. The last thing I'm going to show is Farzad that had this brilliant idea of syncing the theme of VS Code with the theme of the visual editor. So you'll notice if you go into your VS Code XState settings, you have this new drop-down where you can select auto, dark, or light. So right now it's set to auto, which means that if I change my VS Code theme, okay, maybe this will break. I haven't actually tried it, so live demo for the win.
Ooh.
So now I'm in the light theme. Let me try and open the visual editor. And it opens in light theme.
That's great.
The settings are kind of self-explanatory. Auto follows your VS Code theme. And if you want to force it, you could pick either dark or light here. And as a consequence of that, you can no longer change the theme from this help button. So if you were wondering where that setting went, it moved straight into your settings in VS Code. And that's it from the VS Code land today. I mean, besides that, there's been like, Matthias has done a lot of work behind the scenes for all the shared tooling. So please go have a look at the changelog and see all the great additions there too.
Brilliant. John asks, can the VS Code extension trigger prettier when it updates the code? Eric's also asked for this.
I think Matthias had an input about this, because this question have been similarly asked on our Discord. Matthias, do you want to fill in?
Yeah, sure. Could you just display the question again on the screen? So I would answer.
Can the VS Code extension trigger prettier when it updates the code?
Yes, I think there is a way to do it. We just need to figure out how to properly hook into VS Code API to pull it off. But yeah, like this planned. For now, we'll be focusing on making those bidirectional changes more stable and robust, and I think that's a good candidate for it being included as like a cherry on the top for that work, because ideally, yeah, it would just like auto format selection whenever you added anything there.
To add to what Matthias said. Sorry, Anders. To add to what Matthias said, I think, like, speaking about the API of Monaco, which is the base engine of VS Code, at best, you can just trigger the format document action, and whatever you have configured in your workspace settings for that save action type, or in your global editor settings for it, that will be triggered. We can't really hook into prettier probably, unless we have a prettier standalone in our VS Code extension bundle and try to do that, which I don't think is a good idea.
I think there might be a way to just invoke a command for formatting the selection, and we could ask VS Code for formatting the given range in a file, and we know that range. But yeah, we have to experiment how it will actually behave. So it's not as much about invoking prettier per se, but yeah, it would be indirectly called by the VS Code itself, if only you have your ID configured correctly, so to say, so to speak, with regards to formatting.
The way I've had it set up in my editor is that I have VS Code save my changes when it loses focus, sort of what I'm used to from working in IntelliJ and WebStorm. And then Pretty is also formatting my files on save, so I don't know if that'll work for you, but it works pretty good for me.
Great. And go to the link below, or it's also in the comments if you're on YouTube, if you want to upvote that feature on Canny. The great thing is that if you vote on a feature in Canny, you'll get updated when we update sort of further information about whether the feature's in progress or whether it's actually completed. So it's a good way of staying up to date on the features that you really want us to have in our tools as well. So shall we move on to some editor demos? Yeah, Fazad, do you unmute yourself?
Sure, yeah. Okay, let me just move to our production tab here. So we released a very small change. I don't know if anybody requested that, but I was the one who was requesting it all the time internally. So it was really annoying before because I'm really used to doing Command A on Mac or Control A on Windows to select whatever entity I'm working with on the web page. And it was really annoying when I did that on the Stately editor. It just selected all the text naturally, how the browser does it. So we really wanted to kind of hijack into that shortcut and redirect that to this, which is, okay, that was the wrong one. Okay, yeah, so do this. So to be able to just select all the events and the state nodes that are available on the canvas on press of Command A on Mac or Control A on any other operating system. So it should be pretty much working across the operating systems. And yeah, that's basically what it does. It's a real little trick or feature, but it worked greatly for the people who are annoyingly following their muscle memory. So that's about that. But another thing that I wanted to kind of showcase is the context feature that I was working on. And so it's actually two parts. I mean, technically speaking, and one part is to be able to, because like we worked on this in 3 different parts. One part was to be able to support creating context of a machine with very primitive types like booleans, strings, and numbers, which I think, Laura, if I remember correctly, we kind of demoed that, right, before?
Yes, we did. We have demoed that in the past, and I can include a link to it in the video notes later.
All right, that would be great. Yeah, thank you. And so what I worked on as the next part of that was I tried to support objects and arrays as values that you can put in the context. And to be able to do that, you could just make like an array or something here, and then let's just say empty array here, and you should be able to expand it. I think this is pretty similar to the experience we demoed before. But now, if it's a complex type, which is array or object, we open a little popover and we embed a full feature with like full support of TypeScript editor here. This is Monaco editor that supports TypeScript. And you should be able to generate the initial values for this property of type array here. And since it's TypeScript, you can go crazy here and do any sort of programming as well. So you could just say array.from, any sort of expression to generate as well would work here. So you could say 100 and then it would work. And the next time that you open it, you would see that it's here, but the value is actually an array of length 100 with 100 null values in it. So this also works for objects as well. We could create like an object here. So we could open this here in the editor here. So we could say A1 user and then say age, I don't know, like 31. That's my age. And then, okay, so this is very much in progress right now. I tried to change everything today to support bulk editing context, and this is not working. But trust me, it was working before. I'll just have to debug that. So longest story short, objects now work, arrays work, or at least will work when we release this. And we did a lot of internal tricks to be able to just write plain object literals here, whereas this is a syntax error in JavaScript. So we had to work around the TypeScript compilation and evaluation of your code internally and try to kind of convert that to an object literal so that we could get the object literal value of this and just save it as the context value. Then another thing we worked on was to be able to raw edit everything here in bulk. So you should be able to clear your context by basically emptying that text area, which is, again, the Monaco editor. Or you could just say, I don't know, like numbers, and then say 1, 2, and 3. And then when you do that, it will evaluate the code and generate that into the context value of the machine. And you should normally be able to export this. And when you copy the JSON value of the definition that you're creating here, paste it somewhere else, you will see this context value numbers and then 1, 2, 3 as the value. So yeah, that's pretty much what we worked on. We worked on this a lot because there's a lot of tricky problems to solve under the hood. And the next step would be to be able to find a reasonable way to serialize non-serializable data types such as functions and expressions, and then to be able to transport them to VS Code extension when you're working with the editor in the extension, or exporting them, or maybe exporting them as a TypeScript interface or something later on. But these are like a lot for later on. We will have demos for them later. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, basically another thing that we added this week was to so you could add a key here, let's say whatever, let's say array, and then this is a text input, like a basic text input, but we do basic type inference out of the values that you write here. So if you say 1, 2, E10, that's a number, and you can see there's a little num value here telling you that this is a number. Okay, that went away because we do that on Blur. But anyway, we could say object, and we could say A1, and you can see that it will be evaluated as an object. It's a very basic and simple type inference, so don't expect too much out of it. But you can always go on, and if there is a problem with the automatic inference, change the type explicitly here. After you change the type explicitly, we will just rely on that. Or you could say like Boolean, and then you could say true or false, and then this will be evaluated as a Boolean. You could go with empty strings and see there's an empty string here, so on and so forth.
It's a lot. It's so much. You have many fans in the comments, Fazad, because of the amount of work you've put into this.
Yeah, I'm gonna, maybe there's a question that I need to still show this, but if not, maybe I can answer them without sharing my screen, because I see like an infinite canvas when I get back to.
I was actually going to ask you if you would mind sharing, if you've got a simple state chart you could share with us, so we can just have a look at some of the little tiny details, changes that have been made to the edges this week.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. So David worked on a whole new algorithm for being able to render pretty edges, let's say.
We discussed last week, we discussed the algorithm to some degree, but these are just these tiny little details that just make it even more special.
Right, that's true, yeah. So maybe, David, you can fill in here, because I might actually miss out on all the things that you worked on for prettifying these amazing arrows here.
Sure. And keep in mind that this is still a work in progress, but I just wanted to get it out there. And there might be some other subtle design changes that you might have noticed. And a lot of that was guided by Nick, who's been really helpful on just providing feedback on these designs. So yeah, there is a brand new algorithm that we have shipped for just the way that we route the edges. And also you might notice that the starting block is gone. So we have realized that simplicity is key. We really want these diagrams to look simple and not have too much visual noise. And so we've introduced small gaps at the start and end of each of the edges, as well as removing the starting block, because it's a little redundant if you have that gap over there. And we're going to be doing a lot of things to just make this simpler in the future. One of the guiding principles on drawing these edges is that we want these edges to be drawn as if you were going to draw them yourselves, like in terms of positioning, avoiding intersections as much as possible, and just having a nice smooth curve where you would expect them to be. So the algorithm, is now live, and again, making lots of improvements to it. So please give your feedback. And oh yeah, when you highlight over the line, it does show up. And this is helpful because the lines are clickable, and without that highlight, you would actually not even know. So yeah, that's just a little helpful thing. I had
and
I can do this for the whole day.
For those other attention to detail lovers, there's little gaps on either sides of the transitions now, and a lovely rounded edge as well.
Yep.
So that everything just looks a little bit neater and tidier. There's no overlapping anymore. It's all equally spaced.
Yeah. So I wanted to say overall, the demos that you saw, like there were a lot of demos. There's a lot of work being done under the hood, because just keep your eyes open for an announcement in a couple months or so. or maybe 3 months, we'll see. But yeah, there's just a lot of things happening under the hood. We are drastically improving the editor experience and adding features, not only for just editing and bidirectional editing with the editor, but also making this a lot more useful for teams so that everyone can collaborate on this, whether you know XState or not. So there's lots of exciting things coming.
Yeah, with this team, progress is coming very quickly as well. Dave says, definitely something I was thinking of. Nice work. So finally, last but absolutely not least, we have something that Anders and I have been working on this week and last week, and a little bit on the retreat as well, because we love talking about privacy. It's the privacy wrestling team. Anders, do you want to explain a little bit about what we've been doing?
Yeah, so let me set the scene first. So we are a startup, and we'd like to know how you guys are using our product to help make it better for you. So one thing we'd like to add to the studio is to start gathering some analytics. But we don't want to throw in an analytics framework that just kind of takes all your data and sends it without you knowing. So what we've done is we've built a new consent dialog, and I'll try to avoid the demo curse, but I'll actually try to make it live right now. Let me see if it worked.
Oh.
So if I refresh and everything worked, I should now see a pop-up with the consent I need to give to continue using the studio. So we've spent a lot of work trying to make this as easy and as non-intrusive as possible. So we all know those annoying cookie pop-ups that you have to click a million times and they are hard to understand. We've really bent over backwards to try to make this both easy and very privacy friendly. So give it a read when you see it. And the gist is that we actually only collect like a hash of your user ID, and we use the newest hashing algorithms for it. So, and we're only sending that ID along with some activity events, but the only personal data is your internal user ID, and it's hashed in a way that's theoretically almost impossible to reverse. So that's the only thing we are sending to Mixpanel in this case. So we really tried to make it very safe for you as the user. So you can either decline this or you can accept it. So once you accept it, it will go away and you can continue using the studio as normal. If you at some point kind of forget what you consented to or you want to change it, you can go under here under your settings, and now you have this your privacy options, and you can see that I consented to the mix panel. I can always just change it here and change it back if I want to, and if I needed to know more about what the actual content was, I can show the info again. So we'd love to hear what you think about this. We tried to make this very easy and with a strong focus on your privacy. We're trying to be best in class here and send as little data as possible.
Yeah, as Genghis song says, very nice to show exactly what is collected. And that is exactly what we're aiming for. If anyone knows me from a previous life, I used to run a tracker blocker. I am very privacy focused, and I wouldn't want to work for a company that didn't care about privacy, but Stately really does. And we really want to make sure that, well, for one, we're just not collecting anything that we don't need. And when we need it, would mean we really need it to make the experience better. And we wouldn't collect anything for any other reason. We wouldn't share data. We wouldn't sell data. That is just not what Stately is about. And so it's important to us to be transparent about what we're doing with the tiny little bits that we are collecting so that you can trust us. And you can quite easily choose not to consent if you so wish as well. But please do, because it will help us make it better for you. John asks Anders about the search filters on the left.
Yes, they are live. This is production. I'm running on the production website right now. So you are able to see that if you go to the registry/discover, you're able to use this new search we introduced a while back with all the search filters and live search here. So if I wanted to find a login machine, I can search for that. And I'll see that we have 168 machines with login in it somehow. Yeah, so that should be out there now, Jan.
That's great. So if anyone has any questions that they want to ask us, you can feel free to ask us in our YouTube comments. You can let us know in the Office Hours channel on our Discord, or tweet us, or message us on LinkedIn. Does anyone have anything else that they wanted to share this week? I suppose it wouldn't be an Office Hours if we didn't mention the survey. So we've already had loads of responses to our survey. Thank you, everyone. And if you haven't done it yet, make sure you go to stately.ai/survey, where you can give us your feedback on Stately tools. Even if you haven't used them before, please forward to your coworkers, your team, and get them to fill it out, because it's really useful for us to know how we can make the Stately tools and XState something that everybody wants to use. And so that would be really helpful to us. And you could be in to get your hands on some stickers or some swag if you do so. All right, any more for any more? I mean, this has been full of demos and no filler. All demos, no filler. So I guess that's a great point for us to wrap up this week. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Everyone in the comments, we really appreciate you being here. And we will see you all again the same time next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.